There were literally hundreds to thousands of transmog items that exist in WoW's full database. In this list, we're going to go over some of the most sought after plate transmog. And at number 10, we have Doom Crowned of Shen. This helmet is a near exact replica of the helmet of the very boss that you're fighting, Shen from the Throne of Thunder in Mist of Pandaria. Getting this mog is easy. All you have to do is just kill him and there's a chance it'll drop. You have the chance to loot his helmet from any mode, including LFR, but exclusively for plate users. Truthfully, the mog can look silly on some races that aren't Dreadnought, as Shen used the skeleton rig of a Dreadnought for most of his animations and models. Regardless, it was a considerably lower drop rate compared to the rest of his loot table, making it a larger grind in the long run depending on RNG. Shen is also the final boss of his raid, meaning all 11 bosses prior must be brought down in order to reach him, just generally creating a waste in time because of that. Although, because the crown isn't super great looking to many people, not many players attempt to actually farm it for their characters. It is, however, one of the very few transmogs entire game where you can wear the item on the very boss that you just slew, adding some more appeal to its look. So it finds itself at number 10. And at number 9, we have the Scarlet Crusade Plate Ensemble. This set can be purchased from the Scarlet Quartermaster of the Darkmoon Fair for 10,000 gold, as long as you have the tabard of the Scarlet Crusade equipped on your character. In order to obtain the transmog, you must run the Scarlet Hall's dungeon added to Mist of Pandaria and kill the Arms Master Harlan. Doing so will have a very low drop chance of giving you the tabard, and allowing you to then purchase the matching set. For a very long time, players have enjoyed the aesthetics of the Scarlet Crusade, a people of Lordaeron who only wish to see it restored to its former glory. Any outsider that is not a human is considered to be a potential undead, the creatures responsible for Lordaeron's sack in the first place. They're a little psychotic, but they've also gone on record multiple times to be manipulated by dreadlords, as the philosophy of killing all non-humans was not a tradition they once had. The Scarlet Crusade has been around since Vanilla WoW's inception, and with this set, it allows players to completely cosplay a favorite faction however they see fit. The only issue is just spam running Scarlet Halls a ton, killing those same Scarlets you may enjoy so much over and over. Once you obtain the roughly 3% drop rate tabard, you can go find the Scarlet Quartermaster NPC and purchase your set. If interested enough, you can also do this for mailwearers, as they have the exact same set as plate in appearance, but only different in terms of what class is allowed to transmog it. And at number 8, we have the World Defiler set added in Legion. This set is one of the very few in the game that allows you to look like a true harbinger of the Legion's will, even having weapons match the separate sources. It especially works well for Dreadnought characters with a red skin customization to appear as an Eridar to truly sell the look of a demon in WoW. In order to obtain this set, you must farm multiple rares or special chests in the respective Argus zones. These rares can be any of the following listed on screen. They all have pretty long spawn timers, but it's not uncommon for them to be the current world quest objectives in the zone either, furthering your farming procedures. You can also obtain the pieces by farming any treasure chests in Cork Run, but they are significantly lower drop chance there. You may unintentionally get duplicates of items you already have from the set. So if you needed the chest piece last, for example, you may be stuck for what feels like ages until it drops for you, piling up the 4th or more risks of the World Defiler sets in your bags. Basically, just stay in the respective zone for the named rares and chests and find as many as possible and maximize your farming potential. You'll find pretty quickly the chests are all rather spread out from one another as well, meaning you'll be spending additional time running from place to place and not flying, as flying is not allowed in Argus currently. You can farm it pretty infinitely and it all just falls on your patience, truthfully, but the whole getup is truly something special. On our 7th entry, we have the Judgement set from Blackwing Lair and its Recolors. The Judgement set is one of, if not the most popular sets to be added to WoW, and to believe it was added back in vanilla is really something. At least among Paladin players, this is known to be the father of them all, and what really sets in stone the aesthetic a Paladin wants to choose when they play one. It even has outside media influence, sparking many fan recreations and art contributions from things outside of WoW. To obtain this set, players would just need to farm bosses in Blackwing Lair and hope they drop the pieces of the Judgement set as they go. And that was it. With it being classic, loot is almost never difficult to farm, and the only thing you really need is a Paladin. However, in the Burning Crusade, Blizzard would add another version of this exact same set, but changing the colors to be more purple and white than the original. This set did not need you to be a Paladin and allowed any plate user to transmog the full thing should they loot the necessary armor. Most of this set could be obtained through the various TBC dungeons, such as the Breastplate of Many Graces dropping from the Grandmaster of Vorpal, the 3rd boss found in Shadow Labyrinth. There's also the Undead Slain version of the set that's a recolor of this tier and is completely unobtainable now and was only obtainable during the Wrath of Lich King pre-patch, and if you actually kept the armor until Cataclysm. It's not a super hard transmog set to farm, so many players already have it, but many veteran players will remember their journey of farming this set for their own Paladin characters, placing it at number 7. And at number 6, we have a mixture of items, specifically legs and chest plates. These are the Jade, Glorious, Vanguard, Lofty Tyrant, Saltstone, and Bloodscale chest and leg items. Every one of these were added in vanilla WoW and were commonly seen dropping from random mobs in the open world. They can be bought and sold in the auction house by anyone with the items themselves. All things considered, the items are kind of lackluster and nothing really stands out for them. However, perhaps a poorly aged addition, these same armor pieces would then change when worn on female characters rather than male. It was much more risque for whatever reason, and is sought after to this day just to make people's characters appear more scantily clad. For no particular reason, these Mogs will often fetch a pretty high price on the auction house, should you wish to farm or purchase them. Or maybe you just really think the colors of the set match the Mog aesthetic you're going for, whatever suits you. And at number 5, we have Razorfin Island Expedition Set. This set is infamous for being a recolor of the exclusive Paladin tier from Firelands, another popular set from its era. The difference in this set is instead of a fiery looking red and orange colors, this set is much more aquatic themed. It's highly sought after for many platewares because the method of obtaining it is uniquely different from its original version, which was just farming Firelands on a Paladin. Similar to the Judgement set recolor, this transmog can be used by all plate classes instead of just the Paladin alone. In order to farm the set, you must run Island Expeditions, however. Island Expeditions are a set of 3 different islands in BFA you could queue for, and each island would have a specific native to it. These natives could be identified by the art in the Island Expedition queue table, meaning if you see a Vicryl as an image, it means the Vicryl will always spawn on the island. There was a chance for other races to spawn on the island as it would progress, as each island is completely random, and the only thing that's consistent, really, is how many mobs you would need to kill. For every type of mob that spawns on the island, it gives you an automatic chance at their specific loot table when the island is completed. So, in order to farm the Razorfin set, you very specifically need the Rotting Mire Island to be the weekly rotation, and the Jinyu race need to be native on them. When both of these are in order, you can spam islands and get your Razorfin set. Otherwise, it's basically impossible unless you buy the items off the auction house, but because of its super odd farming restriction, they typically fetch a high price. There is an easier solution, but this is also a completely separate weekly rotation that requires some grinding of islands in general. Next to the island table, you can find an NPC called Captain Nightrunner for Alliance and Captain Kit for Horde. This NPC allows you to exchange Seafarer's doubloons for random assortments of items from specific islands in the form of chests. The doubloons are already a passive generated currency as you do islands, as they just give you a compensation when one is finished. So if the NPC has the Rotting Mire salvage box, you can spin into doubloons and get extra attempts at your Razorfin pieces. It's a pretty good looking set, and because more than just a Paladin can use it, more people go for it, or they just simply want to farm the gold it generates for other like-minded players, landing it in the middle of our list. And at number 4, we have the Bloodwake Breastplate. This chest item is obtained in a very similar manner to the Razorfin set and just comes from any island expedition with Vicryl on the island. Thankfully, any island can have the necessary NPCs, and they can just show up later in the run to give you a chance. The big reason this chest place is wanted by players is because it is one of the very few in the entire game that gives your character tattoos. They also have the general Vicryl aesthetic that players enjoy, so regardless of the tattoos or not, this chest piece can certainly fetch a high price. Additionally, you can purchase a box from the previously mentioned NPCs via the Journal Salvage box if it happens to be in rotation. The most common times you'll see the Vicryls when the Durandal Island itself is in rotation, as they frequently are native to it. The rest of the set, when you put together, makes your characters have the general look of a Vicryl NPC from Stormheimer Northrend, further adding to its want for players, as Vicryls themselves have been requested to be a playable race for years now. Maybe the one day when they make Vicryl a playable race for players, you can have a head start with the addition of this chest piece and set itself. Or maybe you just want to farm the gold economy that comes with it because of the unique tattoos. So we're here at number 4. And at number 3, we have the Pauldrons of Za'qul. These shoulder pads are dropped from the boss of the same name in the Eternal Palace raid added in patch 8.2 of Battle for Azeroth. During the Eternal Palace raid, Azshara, the end boss, is slowly goading players towards her to help free the shackles of her old god master, N'Zoth. One of N'Zoth's most powerful lieutenants takes this place just before Azshara herself, and is referred to as the Harbinger of Ny'alotha. Fortunately for us, this boss is pretty old content and can be soloed by really geared players, even on Mythic difficulty. The shoulder pads he drops in question can be farmed in both Heroic and Mythic, but any mode below Heroic will not have the addition of the shoulders within the loot table. So just enter the raid and start killing every boss and making your way to Za'qul himself. The content isn't generally that hard, but there are 2 glaring issues with this farm. The big one is that a skip to the end of the raid was never added, meaning you have to kill every boss to reach the end for your shoulder attempts, unlike more modern raids. Secondly, the boss just before Za'qul, the Queen's Court, typically requires 2 players to bring down. The bosses have the mechanic that if they are too close to one another, they take 99% reduced damage, making it all but impossible to actually kill them in time before the damage reduction takes place. You also cannot separate them and just kill them one at a time, as they will heal to full if they are not killed at the same time by players. So if you have a friend willing to help, this won't be an issue for you, but it makes it a bit more annoying when schedules may not always align. Now on top of all of this is the shoulders themselves have a pretty ridiculously low drop chance. Some of the lowest in the game when compared to others, approximately 0.21% according to Wowhead. Plus, it's the best in slot item for speed set users because of the Longstrider Azerite trait attached to it, and the mythic version of these shoulders are the highest item level version of that exact Azerite armor. The shoulders are highly coveted, because they're an upgraded sort of version of the very shoulder pads that the faceless creatures in Azeroth wear. The faceless are devoted minions of the old gods, and they've been as timeless as history itself. Mostly becoming well known during the Wrath of the Lich King era when Yogg-Saron was attempting to wreak havoc on Northrend and its adventurers. The constantly shifting eyes and the fact they come from the Harbinger of Ny'alotha itself helps players complete a sort of cultist mog they may have been attempting to complete for their played characters, furthering their reign as a devout N'Zoth worshipper. And at number 2, we have the Dreadnought Set. Originally, this set was completely removed from the game in Wrath of the Lich King and replaced with the newer, recolored versions. In patch 10.1.5, Blizzard would add a secret method to obtain this set once again through a pretty lengthy process. To start it off, you must unlock the old Skullomance by completing a large variety of steps that can be detailed further in the top 10 hardest to obtain Transmogs video, or researching a Wowhead guide. Once you're able to enter the old version of Naxxramas, you can click a ward located near Plaguewood, allowing you to loot all the old weapons and Transmogs of the instance. However, to get the Dreadnought gear, there's still some more steps, as you have to actually craft it yourself. To traverse the instance, you must create the makeshift grappling hook by using the Faralina sewing kit, the Constructor's hook, and the Abomination chain. You will go to Thaddeus' room and grapple above it to speak to the goblin NPC named Thacket Skullsmash. He must have Stratholme Holy Water thrown at him to wake him up, and then he'll give you a quest to give him some Scourge Stones. These are obtained from bosses in Stratholme, Skullomance, and Naxxramas. Completing the quest will have them move to the center of the instance and allow you to exchange Scorch Stones for Death's Bargaining Chips. These bargaining chips can be used to purchase Dented Raider's gear, which when used has a chance to be Lamented Crusader's armor. This armor is required to craft the old tier 3 sets. To actually craft them, you're going to need a lot of gold, some RNG, and someone who's already finished the tier 3 set, either from vanilla or from this method. Once you've obtained the Lamented Crusader's armor piece, you must repair it using something like the Undeath Metal, which is specific to plate tier. This is where someone with already the set comes in, as only they can craft you this material. Once you have the armor, you can purify it using Phylacter Weave and Righteous Orbs. Phylacter Weave can drop the Dented Raider's armor piece or be bought for 2,000 gold each. A complete set of tier 3 will require you to have 1,400 Phylacter Weave or 2.8 million gold and 80 Righteous Orbs. Basically, you're going to be spending a lot of time killing Naxxramas, Skullomance, and Stratholme bosses, while simultaneously dropping a ton of gold for your tier 3. Thankfully, everything mentioned is unlocked for your entire account once done, so if you have a ton of vaults of the same armor type, you could hard farm the set all in one go. What this means is despite Dreadnought actually being a warrior only tier set back in its creation, it can now be worn by all users of the plate armor type. You just need to have a warrior actually learn and craft the set in the first place. This makes even more people want to go after it because of its timelessness and rarity alone, ensuring bragging rights to anyone who can complete the entire thing. Additionally, it just looks like a budget version of the Lich King's own armor, making players back in the day herald it as one of the best sets to be added because the Lich King is one of, if not the most popular character ever exist in WoW's lore. And at number 1, we have the Tusks of Mannoroth. These shoulder pads have existed since Mist of Pandaria and can be obtained from the tyrannical Garrosh Hellscream in the Siege of Orgrimmar raid. To farm these shoulders, you would simply need to enter the raid and clear all the way to Garrosh on Heroic or Mythic difficulty. Doing so will unlock a permanent skip to the very end of the raid for your entire account. This skip can be accessed by clicking a scroll on the right wall at the beginning of the raid and will take you directly to Garrosh. Formerly, you had to clear every single boss when this raid was already 14 encounters long, including Garrosh himself. And all of the RP that occurs just drags this raid down so much. Before, it was just so boring trying to get to Garrosh for only to have a 0.3% chance to drop the shoulders that you're desperately going after. Thankfully, the grind is a lot less frustrating for players now though. Blizzard also had the addition of bonus rolls during Mist of Pandaria, aiming to allow the current loot system some leverage to players at the time. If you had a Warforged seal, it would allow you to roll the loot table a second time for your character with an equal chance as last. To obtain these seals, you would need to collect 50 Lesser Charms of Good Fortune, and these can be commonly farmed amongst all NPCs and rares on the Timeless Isle. The reason these shoulders are so sought after is because they just simply look amazing. It brings with it a sense of superiority because of the grind that came with it, and being able to cosplay as one of the more favored characters of WoW, Garrosh, in full is always fun for people. It's why the Dreadnought set was so wanted because it's the closest thing to the Lich King's own armor. The Tusks themselves, however, are Garrosh's own, and it allows you to fully encompass his reign as War Chief in whatever you may want. Even outside of the Garrosh look on an Orc warrior character, they still match many other Mogs and are often the source of newly unique Mogs every other expansion. It may not be as difficult to farm as it once was, potentially lowering its value some, but is still one of the most recognizable transmogs to be added to the game, and it's rare to find a plate user who wouldn't want it ever, except for probably doing the grind itself. Alright, and that's the list. As WoW continues, more Mogs will come and go and become more favored than others. Are there any Mogs you wish make this list in favor of others? If so, let us know down in the comments below, as well as ideas for future videos just like this one.